Hi, and welcome back to the Myth of Hockey. This is a part 2 to Dominic Hasek. I made a Dominic Hasek video just the other day, so you might want to check that out. But this is really incredible. We all believe that Dominic Hasek was the best goalie of all time. Many of you think that. He stole games all of the time. His stats were unbelievable. He was the dominator. He made huge saves, blah, 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 right? We all believe that. We've all been told that. A lot of us think that. So in 98, 99, he had one of his best seasons ever. In fact, you could argue it was his best season ever. He had a .937 save percentage and a 1.87 goals against average. And when we look at those two numbers, it seems amazing because this .937 was the second best in the modern era. I think Tim Thomas had a .938, and I'm going to get to him another day. But this, you could say, was Hasek's best year and one of the best seasons in modern history. He won 30 games that year. In those 30 wins, he had a .958 and a .124. And again, you look at those numbers and you think, wow, what a goaltender. What he did, and again, we hear this all the time, that he was a great goalie that saved the butts of an average team or average players. But did he? I'm going to compare him to a goalie that you do not think is nearly as good as him. Watch this. So to have great save percentages, you would think that goalies have to be at a very high skill level. That's obvious, is it not? So this is what Hasek did in his best 10 games plus 20 shots. I don't like to look at 17-shot games, 18, 19-shot games. I think that's not what we look for in greatness. It's got to be at least above 20 shots. So this is what we see in Hasek's best 10 games in 98-99. In his best 10 plus 20 shots, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shutouts. And then his next three, his 8th, 9th, and 10th, he had a .974, a .973, and a .973. So the goalie I'm comparing him to is Guy Hebert. Yep, you heard me. Watch this. So this is what we find in Hebert's top 10 games that season. Shutout, 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 shutout for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shutouts. A .974, a .974 in his 7th best game, his 8th best game, his 9th best game, and his 10th best game. So look at these numbers here. So far, in Hebert's 10 best games against Hasek, these are comparable numbers. So you cannot say Hasek was better than Hebert in the top 10 of their games. Now watch. So Hasek, game 11 to 20, again, really great stats. Let's see what Hebert did in his best 11 to 20. So here are Hebert's game 11 to 20. But again, look at these numbers. .962, game 20, the same. And look how close these games are, right? Like this, this should really blow your mind because so far in the top 20 games, Hasek versus Hebert, this proves that this guy possessed the same amount of skill. He could obviously produce the same save percentages as one of the best statistical seasons ever in the modern era. Guy Hebert, again, not in the Hall of Fame, was able to put up these so that proves that he had the technical ability, the save technical ability. He was able to manufacture saves at tracking saves as good as Hasek so far. You have to agree to that. So what happened in the next games 21 to 30? Here's Hasek's game 21 to 30, .962, .60. Again, these stats are really outstanding, correct? So obviously he was stealing games, but what about Hebert's 21 to 30? So last but not least, look at these. So just as Hasek's 30th best game in .941, Hebert's best top 30 was a .943 in the 30th games. Look how close, again, these stats are. .955, .950, .958, .955, .962. So this is their top 30. I've just shown you their top 30 games. If this doesn't tell us a huge story, a very important story, that obviously Guy Hebert had the same save ability. He had the same technical abilities. He had the same focus abilities. I'm making stuff up here, but this has to really get you thinking about how great this guy really was. Because if Guy Hebert can throw up 30 as amazing games as, and I bet you would never have guessed this. If I had have asked you, if I were to go onto the street and ask a skill testing question for $1,000, how many great games do you think Guy Hebert had in 1988, 99 compared to Hasek? You would not have guessed this, not in a bazillion years. And again, this is the lack of information that we weren't provided and the experts missed, or they didn't research it as deeply as I have. Now, this is really cool too. Watch this. Before I go on, I've decided to give you 5 more. So now this is their top 35. So this is game 31 to 35. And again, look at these numbers. So absolutely exactly the same almost. Like we're talking this much. Again, very amazing stats by Guy Hebert. And the reason I decided to do 35, because that's basically half their seasons. So again, this proves something. Absolutely for sure. It proves that Guy Hebert was just as skilled. So just to recap, in Hasek's 30 wins, this is what he did. In Hebert's 31 wins, this is what he did. Look at this comparable here. In conclusion, this means that the year of 98-99, that was Hasek's one of his greatest seasons ever, a guy by the name of Guy Hebert was able to match him in the top 35 games, proving again without a doubt that he had the same technical skills. I'm being repetitive now, but I really want to hammer that home. Because if Guy Hebert didn't have the same techniques and concentration and the ability to make big saves, he wouldn't have 35 games just as good as Hasek, right? So that proves that he was just as talented. Just Hasek was maybe on a better defensive team or didn't get the run support because the wins weren't quite the same. So it's if you don't find that fascinating, if you don't find that interesting, if you don't find that a head scratcher that you have to rethink what the goalie world has offered us and what we haven't been told by the so-called experts, the lack of research, then I don't know what to tell you. Thanks for watching Myth of Hockey. Bye for now.